Have you ever wanted to punch your dumb boss in the face? Have you sat restlessly in your office chair, staring at the clock and resisting the urge to smash a printer with a baseball bat? Office Space answers these questions with a sound yes, and provides an opportunity to live out such internalized aggressions as we follow Peter, Michael, and Samir plot to turn the tables on their employer.
Michael, let's make that stock go down.
But under the destructive and rebellious surface of an anti-establishment office jobs must die fantasy, Office Space is a profound exploration of the nature of work itself. The film does all this while abstaining from adopting a mean-spirited tone and delivers its thought-provoking message with an abundance of well-written jokes that ridicule the absurdity of workplace dynamics.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Office Space was written and directed by Mike Judge, who had made his name as an animator in the 90s, most notably with Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. Office Space, Mike Judge's debut as a live-action filmmaker, was based on a series of animated short films he created in 1991, which were centered around the depressing office life of Milton.
I'll set the building on fire.
An awkward, alienated character who will later be adapted to his live-action counterpart played by Stephen Root. In Office Space, themes of the original short film are expanded upon, and while Milton becomes a secondary character, he remains central to establishing the grimy and bleak tone of the office environment communicated in the film. Inspiration for Office Space came from Mike Judge's own experience working as an engineer, which contributed to a painfully realistic portrayal of despair in the film.
Be great. All right.
Before getting into the juicy details, I want to ask you to like this video and subscribe. Alright, Office Space opens up with a simple and relatable premise. Peter Gibbons, played by Ron Livingston, works at a generic tech company, Initech, and hates everything about his job.
Every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.
Before his hypnosis-induced epiphany, the film introduces us to his daily routine as the worker. Themes of Office Space, like workplace culture and the purpose of work, have been examined in film since the early days of cinema. Charlie Chaplin's monumental 1936 comedy film Modern Times criticizes the dehumanization of workers in favor of productivity, portraying them as nothing more than breathing, living tools working on an assembly line. While Modern Times is embedded in the context of the Industrial Revolution and therefore represents the worker as a helpless tool against the backdrop of gigantic novel automatization machinery, it bears many similarities to Office Space. Office Space's worker is just a cog in a different machine, a software company in a post-industrialist society of the 1990s. The representation of the worker in both Modern Times and Office Space is in line with the concept of alienation, suggested by the worker is an autonomous, self-realized human who becomes estranged from their own humanity and individuality through labor. Alienating work is external to the worker and consists of discrete, repetitive motions that offer no opportunity for self-expression or any satisfaction upon completion.
Corporate accounts payable, Nina speaking. Just a moment. Corporate accounts payable, Nina speaking.
Peter's job fits this Marxist definition. He's updating thousands of lines of code for the upcoming Y2K non-apocalypse, an incredibly unfulfilling task that alienates him from both his humanity and his true desires. This loss of identity and agency seeps into all other aspects of Peter's life. He lacks the courage to ask out Joanne, leave his belittling girlfriend, or tell his boss how he really feels about working on weekends, despite being fully aware of his cowardness.
I'm gonna end up doing it because I'm a big pussy, which is why I work at Initech to begin with.
Labor requires the worker to shed parts of their true nature and personality. The film shows us this from several perspectives. Peter's colleague Michael Bolton, who hates the music of his namesake and prefers listening to gangster rap, is frustrated he had to lie about this to gain the liking of the Bobs.
I told those fudge packers I like Michael Bolton's music.
Joanne is ironically forced to express her personality by wearing a required amount of pieces of flair determined by her employer.
It's up to you whether or not you want to just do the bare minimum, or, well, like Brian, for example, has 37 pieces of flair on it.
The film also exposes the existence of bullshit jobs, a concept introduced by anthropologist David Graeber. Bullshit jobs are a form of paid employment that is so completely pointless, unnecessary, that even the employee cannot justify its existence, even though, as part of the conditions of employment, the employee feels obliged to pretend that this is not the case. Tom, who basically works as a middleman between programmers and customers, is a perfect example for someone working a BS job.
Why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people, huh?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because engineers are not good at dealing with customers.
He's also aware of this and gets extremely frustrated when he's unable to justify his purpose in the company to the Bobs.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
Work in office space and everything surrounding it is portrayed as mundane and pointless. The day begins with switching from lane to lane in traffic to accomplish nothing, followed by having the exact same monologue with three of your bosses about TPS reports and being diagnosed with a case of the Mondays.
Sounds like a case of the Mondays.
The space of the office and everything in it, including the clothes of the characters, is in a dull, grayish, tealish color that induces an association with the sterile environment of a hospital. But instead of germs, it is disinfected from creativity and individuality. The corporate office environment is, according to Office Space, also devoid of logic and disregards the individual for monetary goals. Initech is in the process of downsizing, and as the two Bobs fire a few people, Peter is asked to come on the weekend to catch up on the resulting extra work. Lumberg, one of Peter's 8 bosses,
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
What's happening?
is a tragically familiar yet depersonalized stock character, representing inefficient and soulless management. He doesn't listen to Peter and makes passive-aggressive demands poorly disguised as polite requests.
So if you could be here around 9, that would be great.
Why don't you go ahead and get yourself a flashlight and a can of pesticide.
Peter hates everything about his job, but sees no reasonable way out of his situation, which leads him to accept the wild idea to see an occupational hypnotherapist. While the corporate notion of work is ridiculed and presented as unfulfilling, it is also inescapable and omnipresent in the film, as the only plausible escape route Peter comes up with is for the hypnotist to make him mentally oblivious to the fact that he is at work.
Is there any way that you could sort of just zonk me out so that, like, I don't know that I'm at work?
And when the hypnotist suddenly dies of a heart attack, Peter, unable to break out of the hypnosis, is permanently changed into a relaxed and careless slacker. The term slacker was popularized by a 1999 film of the same name and is used to describe a person characterized by apathy, aimlessness, and lack of ambition, with the most notable example being the dude from The Big Lebowski.
I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
The slacker philosophy is important because it questions the validity of placing heavy emphasis on achievements and personal fortune, and is opposed to the Protestant work ethic that promotes discipline and hard work as the ultimate path to happiness and spiritual fulfillment. Peter doesn't dream of greatness, organizing an anti-work revolution, or making an impact on the world away from the mundanity of his office job. Instead, his revolt comes in the form of exercising his right to do, well, nothing.
I did absolutely nothing, and it was everything that I thought it could be.
In the morning after his life-changing hypnosis, he sleeps in his bed through the calls of his boss and girlfriend.
Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg.
And we can't help but wonder, what if I just didn't show up for work tomorrow? He indulges us further into this anti-work fantasy with great acts of slacker-style rebellion, showing up in flip-flops to work, parking his car in Lumberg's spot, dumping fish guts on the TPS reports, playing Tetris while Lumberg attempts to speak to him, and by tearing down the wall of his cubicle that separated him from the window. This scene is symbolic, as Peter is unable to fully break from the chains of work. The wall might be torn down, but he only gets to enjoy the outside world through the bleak curtains hanging over the window. Just as we, the audience, get to enjoy such anti-establishment acts on the big screen. Peter's triumphant return to the office after his life-changing hypnosis happens alongside Ghetto Boy's Damn, It Feels Good to Be a Gangster. And while Peter may not be a gangster in the true sense of the word, he is transformed from a demoralized office minion to an actualized subject, a man with full control of his life. And it feels good. While the slacker might be viewed as pathetic and criticized for his lack of ambition, he presents us with an unconventional perspective of work, stressing the importance of leisure and individual freedom. Post-hypnosis Peter is no longer alienated from his true desires. He asks Joanne out, tells the Bobs all about the ludicrous leadership structure at Initech,
And here's something else, Bob. I have 8 different bosses right now.
and triumphantly says no to Lumberg.
Now, are you going to go ahead and have those TPS reports for us this afternoon?
No.
Peter, as the slacker, flips the work-obsessed world on its head. His friends believe that a way to promotion is hard, honest work, and warn Peter that his lack of ambition will get him laid off. After which they are the ones who get fired, and Peter gets promoted to a boss.
Now, we had a chance to meet this young man, and boy, that's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
The slacker mocks the hypocrisy of the corporate ladder, telling us that, well, the quality of your commitment to the company probably has nothing to do with your probability of success. He essentially confronts the audience with the question, what's the point? And at the peak of his epiphany, Peter sums up his resentment of contemporary labor relations in this speech.
We don't have a lot of time on this earth. We weren't meant to spend it this way. Human beings were not meant to sit in little cubicles staring at computer screens all day.
And then offers us the solution of revenge.
Michael, let's make that stock go down.
Ice Cube's Down for Whatever plays during a slow-mo choreographed montage of a floppy disk being passed from hand to hand, from Michael to Samir to Peter, followed up with a gunshot sound. Similarly, the culmination of their collective frustrations with office jobs is accompanied with Ghetto Boys' still, as they take turns smashing the printer. Their exaggerated contempt for a lifeless electronic device is comical, but also cathartic. The printer embodies everything they despise: bureaucracy, deep dissatisfaction with alienating work, and of course, TPS reports. Destroying it is the final step in the revenge against Initech. The choice to juxtapose white-collar crime with gangster rap is ironic. Peter, Michael, and Samir are completely inexperienced in crime, and the contrast emphasizes the white-collarness of their crime.
I can't believe what a bunch of nerds we are. We're looking up money laundering in a dictionary.
Yeah, well, you guys can both eat my ass, okay?
The film wraps up with a reminder of the inescapability of capitalism. As the Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek famously said, it would be easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. Michael and Samir find programmer jobs at the next generic IT company, Intertrode. Joanne, who also quit her job in retaliation against her boss, now works at the fast food place across the street. And Peter is now a blue-collar construction worker, clearing up the rubble of the very organization he dreamed of destroying. His transformation ends with a nostalgic return to a more traditional domain of masculine labor.
Making bucks, getting exercise, working outside.
The only two people who manage to escape the drudgery of work completely are Tom, who gets a lawsuit settlement while paying the price of breaking every bone in his body.
If you hang in there long enough, good things can happen in this world. I mean, look at me.
And Milton. Throughout the film, Milton's desk gets moved several times. His beloved stapler gets taken away while he continually mutters quiet but serious threats.
I set the building on fire.
Ultimately, he lands in the basement, where the final straw is being left in the dark and told to take care of the cockroach problem.
That's the last straw.
After which he burns Initech to the ground. Milton is the embodiment of a disregarded and alienated worker, slowly bubbling away with anger. And his act of burning down the company represents the collective unfulfilled desire for true rebellion. Final thoughts. Office Space is a well-crafted cubicle comedy that allows us to indulge in an anti-work fantasy while being highly entertaining. My main takeaway from the film is not that all office jobs are evil, but rather that being more fearless and taking charge of your life is not only doable, but necessary. The film inspired me to be more courageous and question the validity of reasons for holding back. Personally, I had mixed feelings about the ending of the film, especially about the somewhat idealized and nostalgic depiction of Peter's new job as a construction worker. But then again, I also can't think of an alternate ending that would be fully satisfactory for me, because it maybe doesn't exist. I would love to hear your opinions on Office Space in the comments. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to my channel if you like this video for more content like this.